So report out on closed session, no reportable action taken. And I'd like to call this meeting to order, and if you'll please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Melanie, roll call. Oh, I'm sorry. Invocation by...
Let's bow our heads. Let's bow our heads and hearts in prayer. Father God, we come before you and praise your holy name. We praise you for this time that you've gathered us together as we work through the details of the town. Father, we just lift up our first responders and our town staff and those that are out there working day in and day out to bring our town back. Father, we thank you for their skills, but we also ask for their protection as they're going about some difficult tasks. And Father, we ask for a special dose of wisdom tonight as we wrestle with some difficult issues. And we pray that the issues that come up before us, we're able to understand them completely and able to make wise decisions that will benefit the community, not only today and tomorrow, but throughout the history of the future of this town. And Father, we say and pray this all in your Son's name. Amen.
Melanie, roll call.
Roll call. Councilmember Bolin.
Here.
Councilmember Culleton.
Here.
Councilmember Lang.
Here.
Councilmember Lassonde.
Here.
And Mayor Crowder.
Here. So before we get started here, I have item 7A2, which we're going to remove from the agenda. There's really no need to discuss it tonight. It will be on our August 12th public meeting. So with that, we'll go to item 1E, presentation by Paradise Arts Theater and Culture Hub.
So it's often been said.
There's no button on it. Is there?
There is a button. I pressed it. Hold it down until it turns green. Okay, it turned green. Is that good? Okay. Hi, thanks for having me. I'm Nicole Lajeunesse, Administrative Director for Paradise Arts Theater and Culture Hub, rebranding as Paradise Arts District, PAD. So to start off, Paradise never had a true downtown, it's often been said. We're missing that magnetic center to draw tourists and residents alike. Now we have a chance to create one. So here's why we need Paradise Arts District, the heart of downtown Paradise. Before we get into that, let's talk about what is Paradise Arts District. You all know about Patch, Paradise Arts Theater and Culture Hub. Patch dreamed of creating a centralized arts and culture campus in the walkable downtown as a new home for Theater on the Ridge, Paradise Arts Center, Gold Nugget Museum, and Norton Buffalo Hall Foundation. It would have been beautiful and quite expensive. We have shifted in response to national trends and local needs into a district model. So PAD, Paradise Arts District, imagines a new walkable downtown as a porous, inclusive arts and culture district with key arts and culture organizations serving as anchors and leaving space in between for retail and restaurants and other kinds of development. The goal is the same for PAD and for Patch. It is to create a stronger bridge through arts and culture. The 4 core collaborators for this project have been Theater on the Ridge, who is currently celebrating 50 years, Paradise Arts Center, Gold Nugget Museum, and Norton Buffalo Hall Foundation. All of those organizations have board members contributing time and effort, and in some cases, financial help to the PAD project. We also have 2 staffers. David Zink, he has been the driving force behind Patch, now PAD, since the beginning. He's been out dealing with some health issues since last year, but he is making good progress towards recovery, and we should be seeing more of him very soon. And that's me, Nicole Lajeunesse. I'm the admin director. So here is why we need an arts district in Paradise. Engaging in arts and culture helps heal trauma, and improves well-being. Participation in the arts is associated with better life satisfaction and lower levels of mental distress. And we saw that after the campfire, Paradise Arts Center became a needed refuge for the community when we needed it most. Arts also builds connections within the community. People who participate in arts and culture are more than twice as likely to volunteer in other ways. Arts and culture preserves our history and traditions. Organizations like Gold Nugget Museum are helping us preserve the community's historical narrative. Participating in the arts improves outcomes for our youth. Kids who participate in arts frequently are more likely to go to college, and more important to me, they're more likely to have higher self-esteem, more self-confidence, healthier relationships, and just a general sense of belonging within their community. We also know that arts and culture stimulates the local economy. Arts and culture contributed more than $1 trillion to the U.S. economy in 2022, and we want to bring some of that income and money to the Ridge. So, for example, communities like ours tend to spend around $40 per event on top of ticket sales. So at current attendance levels, theater on the Ridge, if it was relocated downtown, could bring in over $250,000 per year to the walkable downtown. So imagine what an entire district of arts and culture facilities could bring to the Ridge. And finally, Paradise loves the arts. Our consultant, Duncan Webb, found that the Paradise community, the Ridge community, attends arts and culture events more frequently than other similar communities. And as we welcome new, younger families to the Ridge, we need to make sure they have something to do. So who benefits? So who benefits? Pretty much everyone. We have a long list of people, of stakeholders and beneficiaries from the town of Paradise, the business community, the Recreation Parks District, our schools, Boys and Girls Club, if that is health even, our health system.
It died.
It's
Battery's dead.
We're getting new batteries.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, guys. So yeah, and we want to make sure that everyone is involved and everyone has a voice and everyone reaps the benefits that an arts district could bring to the town. And of course, the biggest benefit will be for the people of the Ridge. More things to do, they'll get to enjoy engaging with the arts and enjoy the benefits of a thriving Ridge economy. So for Paradise Arts District, our key goals are to immediately, within the next month, apply for state cultural district designation. It's a 5-year designation through the California Arts Council. We're applying for that in partnership with the Town of Paradise, thank you, and the Chamber of Commerce as our key partners for that effort. We're also working on building more partnerships with other active organizations within the town, especially like Rebuild Paradise, some of the key players that have been really making a strong effort towards helping rebuild. And then we need to develop a sustainability plan for district operations to keep me doing this work. And then, so what are we doing so short-term goals. Short-term is a relative term, I think, here, but our big goal looming on the near-term horizon is to relocate Theater on the Ridge to the walkable downtown. And so that way we would have Theater on the Ridge, Paradise Arts Center, and the Depot Museum all in the downtown area serving as anchors for future development. And then once we have that established, we'll also be looking towards possibly building new facilities or improving the current facilities for the Paradise Arts Center. Further out, we just want to be able to support arts and culture throughout the Ridge, both in the walkable downtown and elsewhere. Any arts and culture organization who want to be there to provide support and stop our growth. So that's it for me. I'm happy to answer any questions from anyone.
This works.
And of course, I put my my donation link up there in case anyone feels moved to contribute to the efforts. And if you have questions, you can always contact me at admin@paradisepatch.org. That's it.
Question, how long does it take to go through the process to become a district? Are you aware, are we talking months or years?
For the state district designation, it'll be months. The application is due August 7th, and it'll be probably decided by the end of the year who's going to get those awards.
So if this district's formed, and if magically the Gold Nugget Museum has the money to buy property in the walkable downtown, and the Art Center has money to buy property in the walkable downtown, and Theater on the Ridge has money to buy property, so now you've pretty much taken up the entire walkable downtown. You're all nonprofits, and you say you're going to be anchors stores. Part of the old idea of a walkable downtown is to create commerce that will bring revenue to the town. Now, nonprofits don't pay a lot of taxes other than property tax, and some don't even pay that. So if this district is formed, and if you guys find the money to actually relocate and exist there, what does that do for like commercial businesses? And like our vision in long-term recovery plan is a storefront downstairs and living quarters above stairs, you know, things like it. And those things would, like if it's a restaurant or a gift shop, there's going to be revenue from sales tax. But if I buy a ticket to Theater on the Ridge, I'm not paying sales tax.
No,
If
but
I-
you are likely to buy dinner.
Well,
If you're
not if there's
attending
not any
theater.
room for a restaurant down there, because they've got all these other things there.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, and the only other
That's-
question, I'm like, there's just things the way my mind works sometimes. The other thing is, so you talked about part of the plan is, you're asking us tonight on an item here, an action item, to sign a letter or something so you can go to the state and get a district form. I want to make sure that if we form, I think having an art district designation is probably a good idea for our growth and economic development. I want to make sure it doesn't keep actual economic development out of the area. But when you do that, part of your plan was at some point have it develop a sustainability plan. It's kind of like, I'd be more inclined to be in favor and supportive if I could see what that sustainability plan looked like before I say, oh yeah, go form a district, and then you find out like we found out with the sewer to Chico. Gee, we spent a lot of money and a lot of years developing something, and we found out, you know, we can't afford that. And so it would be really beneficial. It would be easier for me to get on board and be an advocate for this if you could show me your sustainability. How does this going to happen? You know?
Yes, I agree. And we are working, that's our top priority right now, is developing that plan that we feel like could be a solid plan that will really work.
So why wouldn't
and
we
so-
get that plan before we go create a district? Because if we create a district and then you find out none of these things can happen, now what? Now I have a district with no art in it.
Yes, well, that's part of the district does come with a small amount of funding, so we can scale our efforts to fit what funding we have available, because the building of these facilities is a longer term goal. We are lucky to have Paradise Art Center and the Depot Museum and some other key businesses like Nick's and Joy Lynn's already in the area, helping us to kind of jumpstart that creative component and host. I know that UDA has been recommending these kind of pop-up events. I think that's something the district could really help with in these earlier stages before we get to the scale of a capital campaign with a new facility being built. So we want to start slow, and we want to make sure that we are using the assets that are already currently in the area with the train park and the handprint mural and all of the great things that are already going on in the downtown area. And then to your point of, will this bring in revenue? We think yes, because the arts organizations will create a destination for visitors. It'll give them something to want to go do while they're downtown, and then just getting them to that downtown area. Hopefully, the idea is that they'll be spending a lot more money and time downtown on the other businesses that are generating more tax revenue. And the data shows that. The statistic that I cited with the $40 over ticket price per event, per patron per event, that's national data from the Arts and Entertainment Data Collection. I wish I knew the right name at this moment, but yeah, it's a national organization that tracks those kinds of things.
Our long-term recovery plan is just that, long-term recovery plan. And one of the dilemmas we're confronted with is if we can find a way to put a sewer in that area so more things can happen. Right now, Theater on the Ridge is one of the longest-running little theaters in the state of California. They're in an old barn, and they've been very successful. They seat 90-some people, and they sell out most of their shows, and they have numbers of season ticket holders. There are not many people that go to those plays that come to Cozy Diner. Nick's isn't open oftentimes when the play is over. When we do performances at the Paradise Performing Arts Center, there's no place to go eat when the show's over other than Taco Bell. So there's some realities. The idea, the concept is brilliant, is great. I'm not against that at all. I just think maybe the cart's before the horse in some respects. Would an art district be a good idea for the town to incorporate in part of its downtown plan? Probably so, but, we're a long way off where all of these ideas are maybe going to come to fruition.
Sure. And it is kind of a chicken or the egg scenario of, can maybe arts bring some of those businesses downtown and motivate restaurant and retail to locate downtown near these other attractions? That would be the hope.
I want to comment too, somewhat to Woody's point, but in support of that concept that I know even some people here in this room attend the neighbor-to-neighbor paintings at the Art Center, and then we'll go have lunch afterwards at Debbie's, or I know you guys have hosted a handful of mixers down at the Art Center that generate people going out and about afterwards. So I think it does happen.
During the day?
No, the mixers are in the evening. So it does happen. Some of us are out after 8 p.m. here in Paradise.
Not Woody.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Any other questions? Thank you.
All right. Thanks a lot.
So, 1F, campfire recovery updates. Written reports are included in the agenda packet. So, Colette Curtis, Recovery and Economic Development Director. Any questions for Colette? Okay. Hearing none. Mark Maddox, Public Works Director, Town Engineer, Infrastructure and Sewer updates. Any questions for Mark? Okay. Tony Lindsay, CDD Building and Code Enforcement. Any questions for Tony? Okay. And item 1G, Paradise Sewer Project update by Town Engineer Mark Maddox.
Thank you, Mayor Crowder. Sorry, just letting someone into the meeting that's participating on a future item. All right, so it is my pleasure, Mayor Crowder and Council, to provide an update on the Paradise Sewer Project. Our update is also posted to our revised website at paradisesewer.com. There's lots of information here, as well as project updates, including the report, and then some more information about some public meetings or special town council meetings planned for later this month. So in the last month, our ad hoc committee meeting, which is comprised of town staff, Mayor Crowder, Councilmember Lang, representatives from Paradise Irrigation District, our town manager, and then our project management team, have been really advancing our work to make a recommendation to the town council and the community for a revised project for a localized solution for wastewater treatment, collection, and dispersal. With that, we're excited to report in the last month we toured and held virtual meetings with other municipal wastewater treatment and management facilities to gain an understanding of their systems. I showed some photos last month, but we really did make stops at Rio Alto Water District, Mount Shasta Wastewater Treatment Plant, Lake of the Pines, Placer County for their North Auburn Sewer Maintenance District 1. We did meet with Butte College as well, the City of Eureka, as well as St. Helena wastewater treatment plant, and then lastly Sutter County in the community of Robbins about their step system there. So we continue to progress our project alternatives analysis, including hydraulic model analysis and cost estimates. We held focused workshops with the ad hoc committee on the collection system alternatives for, again, collection, treatment, and dispersal, and to confirm the whole project alternatives for future evaluation, cost estimating, and system sizing, which is a key component working within what we have as far as the budget and looking to serve the largest area possible for the town. So with that, we are going to continue to our funding and advocacy efforts for the project. And then we also met with the Central Valley Regional Water Quality Control Board staff to discuss anticipated requirements for any treated wastewater effluent discharge. As far as the month ahead, we are looking to tour additional wastewater collection and treatment facilities, including some here locally with the City of Biggs. We have that on the agenda, as well as completing the evaluation of the whole project alternatives for including cost estimates and system sizing. And then again, we'll have a formal recommendation from the ad hoc committee completed. It has not happened yet, on a preferred alternative based on the whole project alternative analysis. And then with that, we're excited to share that we do have those 2 public special town council meetings at the Paradise Performing Arts Center at 777 Nunnally Road on July 24th at 6 p.m. We're excited to have you there. The agenda for that one is really to discuss what's occurred over the last few months, review the short list of alternatives, and hear a recommendation for council approval. And then at the Thursday, August 14th meeting, we're excited to, again, hear about more public input that occurred at the previous meeting and what occurred between the 2 meetings, and then also really seek towards making a decision on next steps and providing approval for direction to proceed with this revised project description. So with that, a lot of progress has been had, and excited to keep going forward. And I'd be glad to answer any questions the council or community might have.
Questions for Mark?
Okay.
Thank you, Mark.
I have a few cards on this item.
Okay.
First card by Cliff Jacobson.
Good evening, Town Council and Mayor Crowder. There are a couple things that I wanted to clear up. I've been hearing some rumors around town about issues. As you all know, I'm for a step system and not a full sewer. And I've heard a lot of misinformation, so I did a little digging on it all, and I just wanted to point some things out. Comments were made that undergrounding would have to be open trench because PG&E does not know where their undergrounding is. So I contacted a gentleman by the name of Mario, who happens to be head of the undergrounding project for PG&E in Town of Paradise, and he said that is absolutely not correct. He said, we know now more than we ever knew where our undergrounding is at. Now, some subcontractors may make the mistake of digging in the wrong spot, but he said, be assured that we know exactly where everything is to the inch. So I wanted to point that out. The other thing is comments were made that from experience that certain individuals have had, that comments were made, recycled water would up the cost of our wastewater system up to 50%. And I've done some deep diving into that as well. It's actually about 15 to 20%, not 50. So yes, it costs a little more to recycle, but that generates a revenue source for the town of Paradise, because that recycled water during times of drought is going to be very inviting, and people are not going to mind paying for it because they're going to want to keep their grass green. The other thing is purple pipe. Okay, that's your recycled water that you would bring back. Comments were made from various individuals that we would have to trench twice in order to put in purple pipe, and that's part of what would raise the cost. And in actuality, recycled water and wastewater effluent can go in the same trench. It's not potable water, and it does not have to be in its own separate trench. It can be in the same trench with the effluent that goes to your treatment facility and brought back. So I just wanted to point those things out. There's a lot of detail and data that we've amassed, and Al McGrean's going to hand that out. I'm speaking unofficially, but PCA has done a deep dive, and there's a lot of data that we've amassed that's going to be provided to all of you so that you can do your own research on it. But I just want to get everything out in the open, because when somebody says something that's wrong and it gets repeated, it just gets better and better and better. And all of a sudden, we can't even afford septic tanks. So, I mean, let's look at the facts and the reality, and let's kind of keep an open mind and look at all of our options, because this is very important and we don't want to make a mistake on it. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Second card by Alma Green.
Just tilt it up. The whole thing. There you go.
Good evening, council and staff members. It's my pleasure this evening as a representative of the Paradise Citizens Alliance. I'm about to distribute some vital information that our organization has compiled over these past 7+ months. And its purpose is to serve as an adjunct of information, not only for yourselves as key decision makers potentially on our wastewater solution issue, but also as an adjunct to the ongoing efforts of the ad hoc committee that's underway now. So we're just sharing this with you this evening. Before I distribute that to you, I want to just give you, some of you already know this, but I want to give you some of the background of our organization for the benefit of the audience, because there's probably people here tonight don't know who PCA is, how we came about, that type of thing. So just bear with me, please. In 2012, a coalition of engaged citizens established the Paradise Citizens Alliance, or PCA as you will, to support and advocate for initiatives that enhance the quality of life in Paradise. Operating in a nonpartisan capacity, the PCA has historically focused on educating the public regarding issues of community impact and advocating for beneficial community initiatives, including the formation of political action committees to support Measure C and Measure V's, and some of the council members are familiar with that. In December 2024, following the Camp Fire disaster, the PCA recognized the critical need for a coordinating entity among the numerous organizations working toward community recovery, and we pivoted to serve as that central hub for recovery efforts. However, in December of 2024, upon learning that the pipeline sewer project to Chico had been terminated due to prohibitive costs and insufficient funding, the PCA initiated comprehensive research to identify potentially viable alternative solutions. So PCA members engaged with, the organization's research aimed to identify and advocate for a wastewater management system that would address the specific challenges of wastewater treatment and leach field failures while maintaining affordability, cost effectiveness, and scalability. So PCA members engaged with engineers and wastewater management professionals, consulted with state and local organizations, including the Paradise Irrigation District, Butte LAFCO, and the North Valley Regional Water Quality District, and conducted thorough reviews of previous initiatives and alternative approaches. Recently, as of June 25th, PCA convened a stakeholder workshop involving representatives from the Paradise Unified School District, Achieve Charter Schools, Paradise Recreation and Park Districts, Butte County Fire Safe Council, Paradise Ridge Chamber of Commerce, and Paradise Realtors. The workshop's objectives included collaborative identification of wastewater solutions that comprehensively address Paradise's infrastructure needs, categorization of individual stakeholder requirements, and development of strategic approaches for engaging residents, business owners, and additional stakeholders. So what I'm going to give you this evening is our analysis at this point in time. I want to emphasize this analysis is in draft form. It's not in final form. And the reason I say that is because our organization is yet to complete this to a point where we're going to render a potential recommendation on our behalf to you as potential decision makers. But I think this is good information to share with you at this time. And so I'm going to distribute to each council member as well as the town manager and our town engineer. So thank you.
Thank you.
now.
Al, one more. Oh, actually, that's a good idea, because, that's a good idea. I think it's worth your while, Scott, because another issue that I haven't heard recently, and I think we raised this, hopefully your ad hoc committee is on this subject, but whatever alternatives you finally have recommended to you and you are asked to render a decision on, at the same time, you need to know whether or not there is a necessity to go back and change the original program EIR that was done for the sewer project, and if that change is necessary, in what manner? You know, whether it might be a simple change like an addendum to that document, or possibly a whole rewrite of a supplemental EIR. Okay, I'm sorry, that just,
Time's up, Al.
all right, thank you.
That's it.
Next card is Monica Nolan.
I would like Mark Thorpe to take my place and represent the chamber.
Good evening, Council, Mayor, and no, I'm not Monica Nolan. Honorable Mayor and members of the Town Council, on behalf of the Paradise Ridge Chamber of Commerce and our membership of dedicated business owners, property investors, and community stakeholders, we extend our sincere gratitude for your commitment to resolving one of the most critical infrastructure challenges facing our town, wastewater. It doesn't go unnoticed that the ad hoc committee, Mark, you're working extremely hard. We do notice this, but we'd like to express our opinion through the rest of this document. The work you're undertaking is nothing short of legacy making. By bringing a permanent wastewater solution to Paradise, you are laying the foundation for long-term resilience, economic recovery, and sustainable growth. The Chamber acknowledges the complexity of the decision and the many considerations at hand. Yet one thing is clear: Paradise cannot thrive without wastewater infrastructure that meets the needs of today's businesses and tomorrow's economic potential. To that end, we respectfully recommend a scalable solution with the broadest reach, encompassing the largest possible sewer service area, referred to as an SSA. This approach would support more commercial properties currently constrained by failing leach lines, unlocking reinvestment and revitalization. We strongly support a solution that will minimize disruption to existing businesses, allowing them to remain open and operational throughout the construction. We advocate for a system that prioritizes speed and phased deployment, recognizing that swift action gives Paradise a competitive edge in attracting business activity and investment. Each month without a solution is a month of lost opportunity. We encourage a forward-looking approach that includes purple pipe infrastructure. Reclaiming treated water for landscape irrigation and other uses demonstrates environmental leadership and resilience. The visionary element would position Paradise as a model for other rural and rebuilding communities, a true shining city on the hill. A modern wastewater system is more than infrastructure. It's the key to economic development. Commercial property owners need a clear path to build and expand. Investors need confidence in the town's capacity to support growth. Paradise needs a solution that delivers both with confidence and urgency. Let's do it right. Your leadership today will define Paradise of tomorrow, and thank you again for your thoughtful service and your dedication to the future of our community.
Thank you.
Last card is Aubrey Pruis.
Aubrey Pruis, CEO with the Paradise Association of Realtors. Great looking dais tonight. And thank you, Mark, for all of your hard work on this and all the staff. I'm sure you guys are probably having nightmares by now about the word sewer. So it'd be nice when we could put this word to bed. So basically echoing the chamber, just giving the thought process and opportunity for the most scalable, broadest reaching options for the sewer that have the least impact on businesses to keep businesses open is we just want to keep you thinking in those terms. I know you're doing it, but just keeping that thought process in the forefront of our minds, that least impact on business, continue doing things that are progressive, that we're under a spotlight. People are still looking to us to see what we're doing and learning from what we're doing after our disaster, after the following disasters in other states. we have the opportunity to be leaders in that still and be out in the forefront and educate and just be a model for what could be. And I don't know if it's the step solution, but the purple pipeline idea is awesome. For fire-wise, recyclability, water is a precious resource, so please just keep that in mind and do something that's timely, scalable, and broadest reach. So that's it. Hopefully you're not having nightmares about sewers.
I have no other cards on this item.
Item 2, consent calendar. Any item need to be removed?
Move approval.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Motion by Bolin, seconded by Lang. Councilmember Bolin?
Aye.
Councilmember Culleton?
Aye.
Councilmember Lang?
Aye.
Councilmember Lasson?
Aye.
And Mayor Crowder.
Aye. Okay, item 3, none. Item 4, public communication. For matters that require, any public communication cards?
I have no cards.
Okay. Public hearings. For items that require a published legal notice and/or a mailed notice public hearing procedure. So conduct the duly noted and published public hearing under the requirements of tax and equity fiscal responsibility. And that's Colette.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight, we ask you to hold a public hearing for something that we have actually never done before. So as you know, we have received an allocation that we applied for through CDBG-DR for housing. And with that funding, we are building several multifamily properties. One of those is the Clark Road property. This property is utilizing a different mechanism for funding than the rest of the properties. So this property is utilizing a 4% tax credit, whereas the other properties are utilizing a 9% tax credit. The 4% tax credit is it goes along with federally tax exempt bonds to complete the funding. The reason I'm telling you this is there is a requirement for those federally tax-exempt bonds that go along with the 4% tax credit for the funding that requires a public hearing within the jurisdiction where this housing unit will be located, which is within the town of Paradise. So these federally tax-exempt bonds have no requirement for the town of Paradise. They are solely held through the borrower, which in this case is Kingdom Development. They are the developer of the Clark Road project. So they are going to be holding these bonds, but we are required to have a public hearing since they are federally tax exempt and they are going to be within our jurisdiction. So that is what we are asking you to do tonight, is to hold that public hearing to gather any comment that may exist within the public for this project. And we do have a representative from CMFA who is the one issuing the bond here tonight, I believe. They said they would be here. If you have any questions about that process, we also have virtually a representative from Kingdom Development, if you have any questions for them as well.
What's the resolution number on this?
53.
Okay, so they're going to build some apartments
Yes.
on some land here in town?
Yes, through CDBG-DR.
So this is
Yeah.
a different deal because they're a tax exempt entity?
No, so for all of the CDBG-DR multifamily projects, the CDBG-DR portion is only 40% of the overall development cost. So they have to find additional funding. Every developer who is doing these projects has to find the other 60% somewhere else. All of those developers are utilizing tax credits to do part of it and then other funding sources. Like all of the projects that we do, it's kind of a patchwork of funding. And so the other projects are utilizing a 9% tax credit, which is just a direct tax credit that has no bond involvement. This project is utilizing a 4% tax credit in addition to federally tax exempt bonds. And it's that federally tax exempt bond that requires this hearing.
And if any of you understand that, you're way ahead of me. So.
It's complex.
Any-
Doing my best.
Any other questions from the council? Okay. So at 6:42, we'll open it up for public comment. Cards?
I have no cards, but I do have a correction on the resolution number. It is 2025-54.
54?
54.
That's a big one.
Okay. So nobody wants to speak on this? Okay, 6:42, we'll close the public comment. Bring it back to council.
I move approval.
Second.
Motion by Bolin, seconded by Colleton. Councilmember Bolin?
Aye.
Councilmember Colleton?
Aye.
Councilmember Lang?
Aye.
Councilmember Lasson?
Aye.
Mayor Crowder?
Aye.
Motion passes.
No, I know we already passed it, but, I mean, this has no effect to us as a town.
No, none at all.
This is just for their ability to go get the funds.
Correct.
And
And
do
it
what they
is,
need to
it
do.
is a requirement, because it is federally tax exempt, that they hold this public hearing here within the town of Paradise, because this is where the project is being located.
And it does give us the needed housing we need for our town.
Yes, this is part of our, part of the housing that we are rebuilding for renters.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, council consideration, 6A, consider concurring with the recommendation of the Measure V Citizen Oversight Committee interview panel to support Autumn Field as new oversight committee. Melanie?
So the Measure V Citizen Oversight Committee had a vacant position, which we advertised for. We received one qualified application, to which the Measure V Oversight Committee interview panel interviewed and has recommended to council, and that would be Autumn Field. And I believe she is here tonight if you have any questions for her.
Can she raise her hand? Oh, there you are.
I'm not
Okay.
here for this, but this worked out, so hi.
Any questions for Autumn?
Thank you for wanting to serve.
Yes. Thank you, Autumn.
I would like to make a motion to approve appointing Autumn Field to the Measure V Citizen Oversight Committee.
I'll second.
Motion by Lang, seconded by Lasson. Councilmember Bolin?
Aye.
Councilmember Colleton?
Aye.
Councilmember Lang?
Aye.
Councilmember Lasson?
Aye.
And Mayor Crowder?
Aye.
Motion passes.
So consider adopting, 6B, consider adopting the following resolutions, Town Paradise Budget Document, and it's available for review. I would take these individually, or,
You can take them as one if you'd like.
okay. Amy?
Good afternoon. The much anticipated finalization of our budget is finally here. We have a PowerPoint presentation. So what we're bringing forth tonight is the operating capital budget for the 25-26 fiscal year. So tonight, we're going to look at the introduction, our timeline, our general fund summary, questions from you all, and review the resolutions, which there's copious at the end of this. So every year, we work together with all of the different department heads and the different groups, and we look at all the items that we need to put into our budget. We look at payroll, we look at unfunded liability, insurance, revenues from all the different sources, and we combine it together in order to bring you this very large document this year. We're looking at overall approximately $135 million, which looks at our capital projects as well as our general fund. So what our timeline looks like, as we are closing down our budget for approval, we are opening up our year-end closing, and at that time, we hope to have our financials closed down by the end of October so that we can start our audit. So in September, that's when we're closing the books. We're getting the finalization for our invoices and working through that area. And then November 25, we're looking at interim financials. At our last meeting, you want more often to bring the financials, and so we plan on doing that, at which time we'll look at our financials, our budget, and also our position control at that time, so you can see any kind of fluctuations. We want to wave at the flag. We also anticipate January of '26 to do that same thing, as well as February. And during February, that's when we're going to start hitting the road again on our budget adoption for '26, '27. It's hard to say that already, as we're trying to do this right now. And then in March, we're going to start closing things and looking at where we are for the '25, '26 as we're developing '26, '27. And again, we're looking at position control, we're looking at budget, and our current financial state. So if we look at our general fund, we're looking at '23, '24. Our revenue was a little over 19 million. Our expenditures were almost on par. But again, remember, our general fund has an influx from our pro funds in order to balance it. Same with '24, '25, where our budgeted estimated actuals were 23 million. And the same thing with '25, '26. And if you look at it and say, why are we not having a net income or a net loss? It's because we're truing up with our pro funds. So when we look at our non-spendable items and where we're ending fund balance, this is our general fund as well as the 3 pro funds that we've discussed. We were looking at 202 million in '23, '24, an estimated '24, '25 at 189 million. And then if we don't show the net market value increase, which we're going to have that, so it's actually going to be better than this, but we need to finalize the numbers at the end of the year, we would be closing the year next year at approximately $180 million. Our market value has actually been much better, so we're actually thinking it's going to be closer to 188 million. Next slide. Questions from everyone?
Amy, do you have a slide that represents the revenue broken down from our actual revenue and the pro funds transfer to demonstrate to the public where we're at with that?
I do not have a slide that was on our prior one. If I remember correctly, it was 13 million, I believe 989,000, approximately.
That was transferred from our pro funds to balance our budget?
That is correct.
Okay, I just want to be clear that we don't make it look like we're balancing it. We are deficit spending and balancing it with pro funds transfer.
We are absolutely deficit spending year over year. That has been the plan ever since we got the PG&E settlement funds, and we anticipate a 20-year span from the time from which we got those revenues. It's deficit spending, and there's 2 types of deficit spending. There's the oopsie deficit spending, and then there's planned. And with our redevelopment and everything else, it's planned. And we're also utilizing that funds in order to finance and gap close between our capital projects as well.
I absolutely understand. Just that first slide didn't necessarily represent the pro funds transfer in contrast to what we're actually bringing in revenue. So I just
Correct.
wanted to clarify for the public.
Yes.
Thank you.
We'll add that next year.
So is there, I remember when you showed us, you said there's line items for me. Within this budget, there's a $25,000 allocation for Rebuild Paradise.
Okay.
Well, that's a question.
Is that a question?
Yes,
Colette, I
that
think-
is correct. That is within my
Okay, is there
department's
any
budget.
documentation for that? In other words, how, I know we were told about that in the finance, or we were told about that at a recent meeting. I'm just curious about, like the TOT funds that we are distributing to organizations in the town to help the tourism and rebuilding efforts. We all had to fill out an application, we have to do reports and all that. And I'm just curious, because I heard a rumor that it was like, just pass the budget and we'll come up with the paperwork afterwards. And if that's so, that's not okay with me.
So I can address this question, actually, and it's an excellent question. So, and this actually goes directly to what Amy was just saying about planned spending. So often, as staff, when we are anticipating projects or items that we are going to be undertaking in the next fiscal year, we put that into the budget to make sure that there is somewhere to fund that project, whether it's from a grant or from general fund or somewhere, right? We have to show that there's funding for that. Sometimes that project has already been contracted and we have all of that filled out and ready to go, and then we put it into the next year budget. In this case, we are anticipating this happening, so that budget is there, but we cannot spend it until we bring a contract back to council to show what that is for. And so that's what this would be for, so that it's budgeted for this next fiscal year, but we would be coming back to council before we actually spend it.
So Colette, when you say you're anticipating it, does that mean there was a request made by Rebuild Paradise for that funding?
Yes, there was a discussion about funding necessary, yes.
Okay, so because I personally had requested documentation of that, some sort of definition or scope or what it would be going for, and I wasn't provided any of that information.
So I will be working with Rebuild Paradise Foundation to come up with what that contract would look like. That will come back before council.
Colette, one of the things I required when we talked about the TOT money going out to private organizations was, okay,
Yes.
what is in it for the town? What are they going to do for the town with that? I'm going
Absolutely.
to ask the same thing of this money when you bring it back. What specifically are they doing for the town? How do we measure that so that we know that that money is being spent wisely? And granted, I know it's a small number and all that, but I want that concept. And anytime we're funding outside organizations, outside what we contract for in the way of rebuilding the roads and all that, there's got to
Yeah.
be some sort of criteria that's laid out saying this is what we're doing and this is what we're getting in return, so that we can say to the citizens, we spent that money wisely.
Absolutely, and I agree with you completely. And the TOT funding, Councilmember Lassonde, is an excellent example of this process, because in that case, we already knew what the funding was. It was already budgeted because it was TOT funds. And so we had that in the budget, and then council said, how do we create this program? So staff went back, we worked on a program, we came back and presented it to council. Council then had some tweaks to it and said, well, why don't we try this or this? We brought it back again, and then council approved that program, and then we began that program. So that's exactly how this would work. We budgeted the funds. I will be coming back with how this would work with a potential contract, and it would look very much like the contracts that we have with our TOT recipients, where it spells out what the recipient needs to do and show to receive these funds. And it would be things like showing some deliverables on advocacy for insurance. That is really what we're looking for with Rebuild Paradise Foundation. That's work that they have done and have proven that they can show results. It is work that we do not have staff time available within the town of Paradise to do, and it is something that is a priority for our residents. So that is the desire. So we'll be working on a contract that spells that out and exactly how Rebuild Paradise Foundation can show they've done that work for those funds. And that will, again, come to council before any money is spent.
So it just kind of sounds almost a little backwards to me, the process. And so is it going to, be like, for continuing projects such as, the gravel project and maybe the sewer or the septic?
No.
Or okay, it's not going to go to grant projects?
No, so, and this would come again before council, but the idea would be, this would be to do insurance advocacy work. So to help bring insurers to the town of Paradise to insure our public. That is what this would go towards. That's the idea. That's what we want to present to council as the opportunity.
So in light of the fact that we are deficit spending to the extent that we are, has it been a consideration that we form a committee of volunteers or anything that could pursue the same insurance advocacy?
That has not been discussed, no.
So I think it's backwards, too. It's kind of like creating an art district, and then later on, they're going to come and tell us, I have an issue with just putting placeholder dollar amounts in the budget when there's not even a plan. There wasn't even an ask, a formal ask, I mean, or whatever. You know, it's kind of like, well, here, we're going to, like, we historically, and I know Amy doesn't like this, but historically, as the year progresses and things happen and develop, we come in here and we sit here and we make budget adjustments. So if
That's the other way this
they
can
came to
work.
you and said,
Right.
look at, here's the plan and here's what we're going to do, and this is the money we need for labor and transportation and whatever, you know, lobbyists or whatever it is, I don't know. You know, I mean, they've done a lot of great work, don't get me wrong, I'm not dogging the organization because they did the septic tanks and they've done a lot of good stuff. But it's just kind of this idea that, oh, well, we're just going to put $25,000 here in the budget, and then whenever an idea comes up, or sometime during the year, I don't know, it's kind of like, I don't have an issue with making an adjustment. 6 months from now, if somebody comes to me and says, hey, we really need to do this, we think it's to be good for the town. But I have issue with that. I know in the past, I've asked sometimes departments, gee, where's this? And I've been given the answer, oh, it's in my budget. This budget is how many pages?
It's over 300 if I'm.
300 and some pages. I don't read all of those pages. I don't go down and screw, I used to when I was a new councilman, but I mean, it's a lot, you know, so we trust you guys, but it's just, it's kind of like.
Right. I understand, and that's why we tried to flag these items for council to make sure that they're visible. And that, you know, what you mentioned, doing budget adjustments is the other way that we do this. Although I think for accounting purposes, it's you know, preferable to have a placeholder item, but that's the other way of doing it that we do have to do when we don't anticipate things, when things
So,
come up, and then we have to do a budget
Many
adjustment.
times, people put in their budgets advertising or
Yes.
different things. They're placeholders.
Yeah.
They put a line item there for an amount of money. It doesn't mean you're spending that money, correct?
Correct. Absolutely
That
correct.
money's sitting there, at least
The
it
budget
shows
is
a
a
budget
plan.
amount that's accurate, more accurate than it would be if you didn't put it there. But you don't have to spend it. You can make those decisions, and it sounds to me like we don't have to spend this money if we don't
Correct.
feel like it's the right thing.
Absolutely.
When it comes to us.
Yeah, I think that's really an important point, Councilmember Bullen. The budget is a plan. It's the work plan that we have for all of our departments. We don't have, it's not a pot of money that we're spending out of. Any actual funding has to come to council. So this is just a plan.
So as we've always said before, the document is only as accurate as the second you put it together. And like you said, if these things don't come to plan, it doesn't get approved as the contracts or the thought is coming through, it would, in theory, fall back out of the budget at the end of the year, and it wouldn't necessarily be spent. But
In theory.
in theory, I understand what you're.
That's a
and-
caution, that's a cautionary statement when we're
Sure.
talking about a budget that's not in good shape.
Right, right.
To make it perfectly clear, this is a recommended budget to council based on all the discussion that has taken place at the staff level. If your desire is to pull this money out of the budget, that is completely up to you to do that.
The only thing I understand that point Greg made, you know, I get it, placeholders. I asked this during our budget meeting. To me, insurance is one of the greatest hindrances to rebuilding our town, the lack of insurance. But it's happening nationwide. It's not just a problem here. And we have, you said the reason for this is because we don't have staff time to go pursue that. I'm sorry, then we maybe need to reorganize our priorities, you know, because that's a key thing for the rebuilding and economic development, is being able to get
Yes.
insurance in this town.
Well, and I can tell
and we,
you.
well, let me finish. We do a lot of things here. A lot of them are grant funded, and some of them are general fund funded, taxpayer dollars funded. We do a lot of things that we just farm out to consultants. And at some point, it's our job to do those things.
Absolutely understood. And our staff does do a lot of this advocacy with the insurance commissioner, with the Department of Insurance. In this case, Rebuild Paradise Foundation has shown actual results in this area in bringing an insurance company here. So that was why there was the desire to do this, and they did make a formal ask.
But we don't have the documentation of that formal ask.
It was an ask through staff. It was a verbal meeting. It was an ask that way.
And the formality will come to us.
Yes, once there is a contract and, you know, spelling out exactly what that would look like. Yes.
Just one last comment, Amy. Just to express, I believe my fellow council members agree that we are concerned about the pro fund extending out as far as it can. And I know you are too. So we want you, over the next year, as you're building next year's budget, to see what we can scrub from it that will help us hit the 20-year mark, 25-year, whatever the case may be. I'm not saying change anything with this budget, but I am saying, expressing at least my concern, and I've heard several other council members express the same concern, that we got to turn the corner and start, cutting back on spending all the pro funds that we're spending right now, the 10 million per year. And I recognize what you said, that, if we get the interest rate that we think we're going to get, we actually will almost not spend that full amount. The pro fund will actually plus up more because of that. So that's a good thing. But the longer it exists, the better chance we have of avoiding what happened a few years back where the town almost ran out of money. And I know you have that same concern and all that. I just want to express that out loud, at saying we're all concerned about that. So we all need to make sure we have sharpened pencils when people are asking for money. And that's part of the reason why we're getting some of these questions is, okay, do we really need to spend that? And that's just, I want you to be the person that asks each department, do you really need to spend that, or is that something that's a nice to have as opposed to a need to have? And that's all I'm asking.
And let me, and to your, I don't know, I want to say this as gently as I can, okay? So I get it that our staff, our town government, that we're doing things in the insurance realm with the insurance commissioner and other governmental. And so what they did was they went out and talked to an insurance company. Maybe that's what we need to do, because dealing with government agencies, we've learned from FEMA and Cal OES and everything else, is difficult. And so maybe we should, maybe it's not enough to just deal with government agencies. Maybe our staff time should be spent talking to insurance agents or brokers or something.
Yeah, and I just want to echo what Ron said, that, moving forward, I would expect that we take an incredibly detailed look at our budget. I know the special meeting where we had the presentation was a consolidated version at the request of council, I guess, last year or something. But moving forward, I would like to have the absolute expanded version of all the information for our review. And I wanted to also clarify that in the interim reports that you were suggesting for the upcoming year, that will also include staff reports so that we see any shift of FTEs within the department or any turnover.
Sure. So that was the position control item that I discussed.
Okay.
So that
So
will
that
show,
will be-
it'll show the shift, it will show all the positions and vacancies.
And the expanded version with the positions, not the consolidated version that was attached to the agenda packet, where it just shows the whole line.
We can discuss it so it will look what you are looking for.
Okay, I was just expecting that since the special meeting, and I have not received it.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I do have one card on this item. Don Foster.
Hi, my name is Dawn Foster. Thanks for letting me talk. I don't know if anybody knows me here, but I own Farmers Insurance, Dawn Foster Insurance Services here on the Ridge. On the Ridge. I'm the only one left on the Ridge. I lost a house, all my kids' houses, everything. I went through all of it with everybody, but I stayed. My business stayed. I don't just sell farmers. I have over 20 different homeowners carriers. I go out. I too talked with Mercury. I too talked with CIG, actually sell CIG. Mercury wanted me to give up my contract to sell their 200 policies to our residents. So instead, you go to a gravel grant person. And again, I don't know if she's here, and I don't mean any offense, but she doesn't have a license to sell insurance. I think it's really odd that a company that went through such an astronomical, horrible situation, which, by the way, the entire world forgot about, because we just went through an unprecedented fire in LA that nobody's ever experienced before. Ironically, I got so tired of hearing it, I had to stop listening to the news. because my unprecedented memories were way bigger than what I saw there. Insurance companies have taken drastic steps to assist the LA people. I know this because this is my life. I live, talk, walk, sell insurance. And I used to work very closely with the town of Paradise as a liaison for you. But when positions changed, things changed, I stopped getting asked. All of a sudden, it's Rebuild Paradise. Well, when I very first met Rebuild Paradise, Jen wasn't involved. It was Charles that started it, great guy. And I saw them at CMA Church right after the campfire. It was the first organized meeting we had, where I had a table there, right? Because I stayed. And I was there, and this person at Rebuild Paradise stood up there on a stage and gave a presentation about insurance. Neither one of those people had a license because I checked while they were up there. Neither one of them have ever had an insurance license, nor have they ever had anything to do with insurance. I don't think Charles even bought his policy. I'm sure somebody else bought his insurance policy for him. So I had to go up to them and say, hey, where'd you get this information? Because everything you just told these people's wrong. And they were like, oh, well, we talked to an agent in Sacramento. Well, Sacramento's not Paradise. And as your meetings have shown and your meetings have shown in DC, there is no place like Paradise. And there's not ever going to be, even LA. But I don't understand how we would reach outside of an insurance industry to get assistance for insurance. I would like to put my name in the hat to be the liaison. I'd love for you guys to give me $25,000 because I'll show you my tax return from 2020, and I made $1,900 that year. I put over $100,000 into my business to stay here and write renter's policies and help people through their claims. So give local, support local. I'm not mad, but I'm really hurt. And I feel like, why did I stay here? Because if I go to the Chamber of Commerce, who all left, I think, after they did their spiel, you know, I missed my dues because mail doesn't come right. And they pulled business from me because of that. So I'm not part of the chamber, but there are no Paradise Ridge insurance companies in the chamber. But the chamber supports Paradise companies. No, they support people to pay their chamber fees. So unfortunately. So didn't mean to stand on a soapbox, but there was one up here. I support Paradise residents, Magalia residents, and if I can't give you a policy, I'll tell you who can for your best interest. If I was in it to make money, I'd have left like everybody else. Thank you for the time.
Thank you, Dawn.
I have another card from Melissa Crick.
I still have more slides.
Oh, sure.
I don't know if you want to intermingle things.
It's up to the mayor. Amy has more slides, or do you want to hear from the public?
It's fine either way, just my presentation's not done.
Okay, go ahead.
Sorry, Amy.
Melissa Crick, Valley Contractors Workforce Foundation. I'm speaking today on behalf of a nonprofit recovery building agency in the community. I wanted to just quickly express to many of your points, it's important in situations like this to never let perfect be the enemy of good. So perhaps, rather than pulling it from the budget, council could consider earmarking $25,000 for insurance advocacy and then work through the process of determining whether that should be Rebuild Paradise, the town, or some combination thereof. To Dawn's point, we know and love you, Dawn, but whoever brings insurance, I'm happy for that. So I think that that would allow not altering the budget, which I'm sure Amy would appreciate, and then allowing the work to move forward as quickly as possible. Thank you for your consideration.
Okay, you get to finish it.
It was, okay, so we presented to the committee back in June 9th, and then we presented the preliminary budget in June of 25. We gave you your requested list of contractors and also the detail that was requested. I didn't receive any augmentations for budget. And then hopefully tonight we will adopt on the 8th the final budget. So to do so, we need to pass all the different resolutions that go along with the budget. So we're looking at 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, and 60, adopting final budget, approving and adopting the annual appropriations limit, the general fund reserves, the capital improvement plan and disaster recovery plan, the new job classifications, and the amended salary pay plan. And that is my presentation.
Question?
Yes.
What is the annual appropriations limit? Is that by department or division?
That is the town as a whole, so it looks at what your revenue base is and what your spending in is, and the percentage over or under what is allowed. And that's based off the state of California.
Okay. So there's amount that staff can spend without council having to take a look at some things, right? How do we change that? It won't happen today, but at a future meeting.
That's based off your purchasing policy, so.
Yeah, is that what it is?
Yes.
Okay.
So.
All right, so it's just something for a future meeting let's talk about.
That is planned coming to you in the near future, is
Okay.
the updated purchasing policy.
August? Okay. Yeah. What is it currently?
It's an ordinance currently, and there's different levels, so that dictates what RFP levels are there, what Jim can approve, but virtually, it's been his perspective and prerogative that we take in all these contracts and we bring them to you. Relatively low in my perspective, but he always wants to make sure that you all see the different contracts that come through. So if there's, you would have to tell me the threshold, but I think I've seen items for 15,000 that comes through. That's not part of the threshold, but he encourages us to bring them in for your
Yeah,
review.
the muni code has it up to $250,000. We've already discussed this and acknowledged that we will recommend some changes in the purchasing policies.
Sure. And that was an ordinance that was brought back years ago.
And there was a reason for it, which made sense.
But even though there is the ordinance with that threshold, just know that it's not the prerogative of the staff. We've been bringing you the contracts that go along with it.
So what do you need now, action?
I need action for you to approve all the resolutions so we can pass our budget.
Are there any cards?
What was that? Oh, and there was an amendment. You received the pay scale. There was one page that had an error, and that was distributed to you this afternoon. The hourly rate was correct, but the number of hours for that person was different, and so we had to make that adjustment. But it's already allocated in the budget appropriately. It was just the document that we would use throughout the year to pay people. This- Yes. It was a single page. It was on page 372.
Is there any cards?
We already had the cards.
You had the cards. I do have a copy of it right here, so I'm not sure. And did we not get it out in time? It was a last-minute adjustment.
Oh, the clerk's office did not send it out.
Okay. I have a copy of it right here.
You're in trouble now.
Briefly, just tell us what you're talking about.
It was on an hourly rate was the same for, I believe it was an assistant. It was just the actual number of hours multiplied by the hourly rate that changed. It was a number of hours. It was a 40-hour, and it was allocated at, say, 26 or 36 or somewhere like that, so the math on that part was off. But it was just part of the pay scale.
That's what I'm doing.
As a dependent. So it's not impactful. We needed to make sure that the adopted one was correct.
You guys are adopting this, huh?
Huh?
You're the one that had a problem with it. You adopted.
We're the ones
You
that.
go for it. Don't look at me.
All right, then, if that's it, I'll move adoption of the 25-26 budget.
I'll second it.
Motion by Colleton, seconded by Lasan. Councilmember Bolin?
Aye.
Councilmember Colleton?
Aye.
Councilmember Lang?
I just want to clarify that we reserve the discretion to review the contract for the Rebuild Paradise services. And we're not obligated by approving this within that. Aye.
Councilmember Lasan?
Aye.
And Mayor Crowder?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you, Amy.
Okay. Council-initiated items and reports. 7A1, discuss and provide feedback on potential improvements to policies, procedures, oh, no, sorry, that's, no, yeah, for home buyers and construction deficiencies. Tony?
Well, good evening, Mayor Crowder, Vice Mayor Culleton, and esteemed council. So, yeah, we're here to discuss on strategies to protect future homebuyers. So the purpose of the discussion is to highlight the growing concerns related to construction quality and consumer protection, to explore strategies to improve transparency and accountability, and to seek council direction on potential policy actions. So some background here, we have an ongoing high volume of rebuild activity. Actually, we're busier now than we have been in the past 2 years for single-family production. Owner builders and smaller contractors are increasingly common. Reports of homes being resold with deficiencies or lacking documentation, and limited recourse for buyers post-sale. So some of the key areas I thought would bring up to council for consideration would be permit transparency, final inspection enhancements, education and outreach, policy and code amendments, and collaboration with the real estate industry. So permit transparency. We have the opportunity now with our new permitting software to develop a standardized permitting summary report to overview of a parcel's permit history and inspection records. We have that documentation now and available, but it comes in several different forms, so we could potentially create a report to make it more streamlined. And explore integrating permit disclosures into escrow through collaboration with title companies and the real estate industry. And I have a verbiage that was supplied by a local realtor that he puts into his real estate transaction contracts. Is that right? Yeah, okay. To do that. So here's some verbiage that they cut and paste, and then the seller agrees to ensure that all construction work performed on the subject property complies with the California State Licensing Board standards for fit and finish as required by new residential construction, regardless whether property was built under a licensed contractor or owner builder. Pursuant to applicable building permits, the seller shall bear the full responsibility for any deficiencies that do not meet the minimum standards as defined by the California Business and Professions Code and Title 16, Division 8 of the California Code of Regulations. And number 2, the seller shall provide a buyer within 7 calendar days the acceptance, a written list of all major subcontractors who performed work on the property during the course of construction, including business names and contact phone numbers. This shall include, but not limited to, subcontractors responsible for foundation, framing, electrical, plumbing, roofing, HVAC, and solar installation. The next item here would be the final inspection enhancements, and kind of dovetailing on that item 2 of that disclosure, it would require documentation of all subcontractors that work on a property. I just included the first page here of it, and you have the full document in the agenda summary. But this subcontractor list would have the building permit, the project address, contractor owner, the septic permit, and the contractor or owner builder, the date of the installation and the size of the tank, the leach field, the installation, and the bedroom capacity. But not only, it would also include like grading contractor, special inspector, like compaction testing, the excavation contractor or the pad builder, surveyor, concrete foundation contractor, the framing contractor, sheathing, subfloor installer, if there's any kind of steel contractor, the rough-in systems, the plumbing contractor, electrical contractor, HVAC, the HERS rater, low voltage, if there's low voltage in the house, fire sprinkler contractor, the exterior envelope, like the roofing contractor, the siding, stucco, window door installer, the insulation contractor, gutter installer, the interior finishes like drywall contractor, finish carpenter, painting contractor, tile setter, flooring contractor, countertops, glass mirrors, and then finally, like the final site work and exterior features, like the concrete flat work, landscape contractor, fencing contractor, deck and patio, if there is, and finally, solar, right? So I think that captures, working with, the contractors in town, I think that captures the full gambit of every subcontractor that's involved. And when an owner-builder builds more homes, they sign a checkbox on the permit that says they will use licensed subcontractors. So this is a very important list that we can provide and include in the owner's operational manual, as well as keep it for record in the permits themselves. So education and outreach. We could provide a buyer guidance on interpreting, permit records, and that would be part of including it in our, a streamlined permit summary. Public workshops for realtors and escrow agents and buyers. We have Aubrey is offered through Paradise Association of Realtors is interested in creating A to Z realtor training. To ensure realtors are educated and also to ensure buyers are better informed, right? And also web-based FAQs, risk checklists, and that site. So what we have here, some of you might have seen this already, the advantages of buying a home built by a licensed contractor. Gives you a list of what licensed contractor can provide for you and what an owner builder has for you. We also have a buyer checklist for purchasing from an owner builder. That includes construction and permitting, documentation, warranties and disclosure, financial protections, professional support, risk protections, and a compliance check. With the goals is to ensure that every buyer has greater protections, it would be the same as if buying from a licensed contractor. So we have a checklist. We also have several flyers, informational handouts that were provided by a contractor state licensing board. We have the 10 tips, make sure your contractor measures up. What you need to know before hiring a contractor, as well as licensed contractor pre-screening. So you have a pre-screening handout all in there. So these are all things that we can certainly provide, and we provide these at the Building Resiliency Center currently. But we could also, form more formal workshops and trainings. But now we get into policy and code amendments. So we could consult with the town attorney about requiring third-party inspections or certification for new homes before the town's final building inspection, as well as consult with the town attorney to explore options for limiting number of owner-builder applications. And I think, Scott, this is
Yeah,
your turn.
let me jump in on both of these. So on the first one, our research has shown, but by the way, there is no public agency that has done this. But what you could do, you could require a third-party inspection or some type of certification by a licensed inspector, independent from the owner builder, independent from the contractor. You can require that before issuance of a certificate of occupancy. What you can't do is say, we're only going to apply that to owner builders. It has to be all in the category, either all residential or all commercial or both. You can distinguish between residential and commercial, but you can't distinguish between the contractors who build the same type of product. So you can require a third-party inspection. We'll have to figure out, assuming you want to do that, it would need to be done by ordinance. We would have to put it somewhere in the municipal code. I can find a spot for it where it will nicely fit. But you can make that requirement as a condition prior to the issuance of a certificate of occupancy. As to the second item, the limiting the number of owner builder and limiting the number of permits they can pull, that the issue, it's called issue preclusion. The state has occupied the field of contractor licensing. They've made an exception for owner builders, and we're not able to legislate on top of what the state has done in this instance. They have specifically reserved that to themselves. So unfortunately, we would not be able to say, well, the state says owner builders can have up to 4 permits per year. We're only going to allow 1. You would not be able to do that. But the prior one you could. You could say, we are going to mandate for all residential properties, based on public health and safety. We want a third-party independent inspection by a licensed inspector prior to issuance of a certificate of occupancy.
So one question, Scott, with limited to 4 homes offered per year, and maybe you can't answer this, but if you can, I'd like. So is that 4 in Paradise and 4 in Reading and?
Yes. Yeah, it is. Unfortunately, it is ridiculous. And I'm no fan of this section of the Business and Professions Code. It is, I don't know how, I don't understand the logic of why they allow that many. Let me give you another example. It's not really outlined here, but if an owner builder, let's assume someone wants to build 1,000 units that they're going to keep for themselves. They could come in and apply for 1,000 building permits at the same time, as long as they're going to keep them for themselves. After 12 months, they could sell them, and there would be no violation at all. And again, that's because the owner builder, if you're going to keep it as your own property, you can build as many as you want. If you're going to sell them, you can only do 4.
Is there, you have to live in it requirement? Because you said like, if they, in other words, is that?
No, you could build them as rentals, for example. And as long as you own it, as long as the owner builder owns it, for the first 12 months.
But you can also build 4, have an LLC to build 4, have your wife to build 4.
Yeah, and your
Have your
cousin to
child
build
to build
4, your
4.
child can build, yeah.
All using the same company to build it.
Yeah, so again, I can't really get my mind into what the legislature was thinking as to the public policy behind this. But I think what they were thinking is, if an owner builder who wants to put up a home for sale is going to use all licensed subcontractors, I know they don't, but they have to certify that they do. And so if we find out that someone is not using licensed subcontractors, we can then issue a red tag notice, a stop work order, and make them, prove that they're using a licensed subcontractor.
I don't think that's true. They can do it, they can self-perform.
I'm sorry, that's right. They can self-perform.
Right.
That means them doing it themselves.
Well, they
But
can say they did, but they don't have
But the
to.
minute they have somebody else do the work that they're paying for, if they're not licensed, that's a problem.
Well, you're not gonna catch that.
Yeah.
They're gonna say they self-perform, so that, anyway.
Well, most of them, and Tony, correct me if I'm wrong, most of them certify that they will use licensed subcontractors. I know they don't, but most of them certify that they're going to.
Correct, they check the box on the building permit that they'll use licensed subs.
So we just carry on knowing they check the box and do not use
But
licensed contractors.
If you add this checklist, right, to where when they pull their permit, they have to submit the list names and license numbers, and even if they claim they're self-performing, when you go out on an inspection and there's not the homeowner, but somebody else doing the plumbing, what's your contract?
You're not there standing there watching the plumber do the work.
Well, when you
They
show
come
up,
afterwards.
when you show up at a job site
there
and
when
everybody
you do the
runs for their
inspection.
truck, is that not an indication that they're not complying?
That could be a variety of different factors, but that could be one of them. So,
Tony, on the inspections and certification by third party, how is that different from the final inspection? Is it more detailed? Is it more comprehensive? What do they do different to that
so
third party team?
we regulate the building standards, right? And what the third party would do would provide that fit and finish, the runs in the paint, the trim,
okay.
not essentially lining up. How many imperfections can there be in a semi-imperfect drywall, that type of thing. Flooring, materials, they could go after, okay, what kind of materials are on the floor? So they could make notes of all that, and they typically do. A home inspector will go and tell you, is this building grade carpet or is it?
But you don't have to have flooring to get final inspection. I mean, you don't have to have flooring. You don't have
Correct.
to have texture on your walls. Those things are just.
Correct.
Those are preferences.
Yep.
And someone walks in, so you're not done yet. I wanted you to get done and we can come back and,
Okay.
I'm sorry.
I'll carry on. So finally, the real estate industry collaboration, right? Making sure that our buyers are educated when they come out, when they're purchasing partners. So we plan on partnering with Paradise Association of Realtors, like I touched on prior. Aubrey is ready to create and help us create A to Z training for all the realtors, and as well as provide disclosure templates like we previously saw, and checklists for realtor buyers. And so this realtor checklist for newly built home would provide that additional educational platform, so then the buyer could go through it and provide property documentation, utility verification, the site safety features, as well as landscape and exterior, the interior final review of it all, and any kind of disclosures that could be additionally added for buyer protections.
What is the significance of requesting the independent home inspection prior to issuing the certificate of occupancy? Is there a logic to that? Why would it happen before that?
Well, sure, because then we could hold the final before making sure that they receive it, right? We could integrate that into the owner's manual as well as keep a copy on record for at town hall.
But that's
the
not
break.
going to, those types of inspections, they're not going to find structural problems. The reports I'm getting from people who've had to go out and repair some of this work.
And
the
drainage that
flashing's not
surfaces
put in
later.
proper. I mean, there's problems that,
And we're trying to keep houses affordable, and we're just piling in more money on top of with these inspections. That's an inspection you can get right now. Anyone can order that inspection for a house before they move in it. So that's
Correct.
That's available at this point.
well, And even Doug's thing that he puts in his contracts, even if you have these lists and you have, the owner, builder, whoever it is, gives you a list of here's all my subs, and they're like, some of these people they're gone. They're no longer around. Some of the contractors out there have lost their license and are still building.
Okay,
Correct.
but you're talking about getting this, see, one thing that can happen is at final inspection, you can require a folder. And in that folder, the final inspector will look in that folder to see that every one of these things are filled out.
Right.
See that all the product information's there, see that everything that person needs, garage door openers, everything's in that folder for that person. They don't get their final until that folder is there, has everything filled out. I didn't see a place where they sign that this is accurate. I don't see any place that says that.
Oh, and we certainly could, these are just discussion items, and we can always.
Yeah, I'd like to
craft
see them
what-
sign it,
what
so that
council
if they ever had to
wanted.
go to court with them, at least they, under perjury law, that they signed it and,
Now, owner builders do sign the building permit.
They do sign that.
Do
But I'm
say
saying that
they're-
list
Yes.
is signed, and I wouldn't even have a problem. I'd love to see them also put contact information for each of those contractors.
Yep.
So when that contractor's gone, which I'm getting calls every week, they're gone, they have someone they can call because my window's leaking, or you name it.
But sometimes those subs are going to be the ones gone too.
Yeah.
And that-
Sometimes.
Let me ask you this, if I'm an owner builder and I build a house and I do all the work myself, so none of it's to code, and,
Well, we make sure that you meet the minimum building standards.
and I
Right.
bribe the building inspector, so I got all my things.
We do
No,
not
I'm
take
kidding.
bribes,
No,
Wayne.
but the question is, if I build a house, one of these contractors or owner builders, can they sell it without a certificate of occupancy? Can I sell a property that's complete without a
Can't close
CO?
escrow?
You actually can, but you will have to sign disclosures. Maybe not title insurance, but you
If
can,
there's
you
no
can
financing.
close
I'm
on
just
it.
curious whether
Yeah,
that.
if there's no
With some
financing, they don't ask for
disclosures.
that.
Well, yeah, you can't with the finance.
Financing shuts it down right away.
Right.
Yes.
No financing.
I was just curious in case that was a loophole they were getting around.
But then, of course, the insurance companies are looking for C of Os, right? If they had to replace that house.
It's a little late, though, by that point.
Yeah.
Correct.
I really
Scott?
like your idea about the list of subs, and the reason I do that is my house survived the fire, but my builder had given me a list of all the subs. I had $130,000 worth of damage, and I went in January of 18 and started calling all the ones I needed to call. I had to get the insulation replaced, I had to have the roof inspected, I had to have the stucco redone, 18 of my 19 windows had to be replaced, and the fire sprinklers external parts were damaged. But I had the list with the phone numbers of the contacts, and I was able in 2 days to line up all those subs that had worked on my house.
Great.
Just prior to the fire was when we moved in, to have them come in and fix it, and they build it back to the same standards it was before the fire. So hopefully we never have another disaster like we had, but even if we have a small one, having that list, if the house survives, it just helps the homeowner that much more to find a reputable one. Hopefully they're reputable subs. Mine were, and they're still in business today. But that's really a good idea, and I think we ought to insist on having that for every one of them and have it signed off.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question for Scott. If we are not able to limit the number of owner-builder projects or homes, is there any other means that we can level the playing field? Can we require them to carry liability, or can we require them to carry,
No, you can't. And this is where, again, it's frustrating because that would be a logical thing to do. I'm not trying to throw any rocks at the legislature, but logic has never been their strong suit. And so I looked at every avenue to try and figure out how could we make that happen. And the state has precluded local agencies from legislating on top of what they've already done in that contractor licensing and the exception for owner builders.
Then just maybe with the LA fires and our fire, maybe the legislature get persuaded to change the law.
Yeah, good luck with that. So, I know we're talking about owner builders, but there's also, there's also contractors. And just this last week, got a call on he's gone and she's left. And so it's not just,
Yeah, no.
I want to make sure that this conversation, it's across the board. It's people taking advantage of people up here.
Right.
And
One of the things, Tony, can we go back to that language, the two sections that were added into the contracts? It's in like the first piece. This verbiage I think is really good. What I would, again, I'm not looking at the whole contract, right? But you're going to want to make sure when you usually close on a home, that purchase contract is now done. And this language now expires. So you want to make sure that there's a clause that says these provisions survive the closing and remain in effect indefinitely. Because otherwise you won't be able to rely on them past the day of the closing. So I wanted to throw that out there just because I figured, for the realtors in the group, if that's not in there, throw it in. I can't tell if it is, obviously, from just this blurb, but if it's not in there, those should survive closing.
And additionally, like Greg mentioned, we do have other scenarios, countless other scenarios, actually. But what about the builders that do have licenses that are pulling owner-builder permits? They can just decide they're no longer a licensed contractor and they're going to be an owner-builder?
As far as I'm aware, they own the property, they can build it as owner-builder.
And we check to see if they own the property when they pull a permit as owner-builder?
We do. They can do it, and they can also be an agent of the owner-builder. So the owner supplies us with a owner agent.
So that's a big old
list
loophole right
with a copy of their driver's license, and they sign a document that this person can pull a permit on my behalf.
That's not a loophole. The agent part of it's not a loophole.
Yeah.
So it can be anyone, though, that can pull the permit as long as they're identified as an agent of the owner of the property?
Correct. And
By the owner of the property.
By the owner of the property.
They have to write a letter
Yeah.
that this is my agent.
And that's all that comes out of a health and safety code, that verbiage that we use. And
And how do we verify who is the current owner of the property?
We use our GIS system that has the ownership information in it.
Okay.
Sometimes if that's delayed, we require them to bring in the grant deed of the property. So they provide the grant deed of the property, notifying that they're the property owner. Right. Because some properties, they transfer really fast. I could buy a property and I could go do it. It takes, our system is updated quarterly. So if we see in our system that the name's not there, we require them to bring in the grant deed.
Some are selling properties with approved plans.
There has been
That
that.
makes it tough too, where it takes
Right.
time to figure out who's, yeah.
Sure. Our GIS gets updated quarterly. So if it's not updated, we make sure we have that verification.
Right.
Any other questions for Tony?
So you need direction?
I do have cards.
Well, I imagine you probably want to take some questions.
You can't get here.
Okay, cards on this, Melanie?
Yes, first card is from Autumn Field.
Hi. Hello. I'm Autumn, Paradise resident. Thank you, council, for the opportunity to speak. I'm here to raise urgent concerns about the out-of-town builders and the contractors that are doing shoddy work. But these are, what I'm finding in my experience is that they're often under short-lived LLCs. And these people are treating Paradise like a payday and not a community in recovery. There's quality and safety concerns. These builders construct substandard homes that frequently call one to question how inspections were passed. Working next door to me, OSHA was cited with one working right next door to me. This isn't an isolated incident. It shows that there's a pattern of corner cutting. There's unacceptable nuisances during the construction. They've created a host of neighbor disruptions, so they're not even being like good community members when they come into our town. There's trash and debris that's left strewn onto the sites with no dumpsters provided. We're forced as neighbors to clean up our neighborhoods. The crew members are showering with hoses in the street. I would like to think that we're better than Chico. We're raising, so that gives us hygiene and visual concerns. They ignore noise ordinances. They start work early in the morning whenever they choose to, and that is outside of the foundation pouring. And they fail to wet down dirt, which is just damn rude. We already live with red dirt. If you can't move dirt and do debris, stuff like that without wetting down your dirt, it's just rude. Economic and supply chain impacts. These companies like to bring in materials from Sacramento, bypassing our local suppliers, which sap our economy and our job base, so they are robbing from us there. There's accountability voids. Each of these builders that I've experienced in my neighborhood, there's 3 that have built on my street, they fold their LLC after their sale, eliminating their ongoing responsibilities. They vanish, leaving behind unresolved safety, quality, and nuisance problems. This is also a historical echo. After the campfire, we had some similar fly-by-night contractors who were repeatedly flagged for unlicensed work and incomplete builds, but we only began seeing progress when licensing oversight improved. But now these short-term LLCs are slipping through again, and they're jeopardizing our recovery. The impacts on Paradise are that the neighborhood livability suffers, safety, aesthetics, and peace are all compromised, and local jobs and revenue are lost. So what I'm going to urge you as the council to do is to strengthen permitting requirements, require builder licensing and proof of completed quality builds in Paradise before approving new permits. Eliminate the Shell LLC loopholes. We should demand full transparency and ownership and hold parent companies accountable even after the LLC dissolves. And support local sourcing. Prioritize hiring Paradise-based labor and purchasing materials locally. Increase oversight and enforcement. We can only do this with Cal State Licensing Board when they're licensed, but partner with CSLB, OSHA, and code enforcement to implement routine and unannounced drop-in inspections and enforce strict site management regulations. So that's what I have to say. I think that it needs to be, a rebuilding process has to be more than just bricks and mortars. It's to restore trust, safety, and pride in our community, and we deserve builders who respect Paradise, not exploit it. Thank you.
Next card is JT Martin.
After everything that he showed, my blood pressure's probably through the roof because all the answers to this lie with the building department to put this to an end. But I will go ahead and read everything that I wrote down. So I'm requesting that the council hires an independent company to audit the building department. I don't believe adding another form is going to solve the issues we're currently facing with the substandard construction of this town. As a contractor, I've received multiple calls to address issues people are having in new construction homes in Paradise. I've personally witnessed more than just sloppy workmanship. Many things I've witnessed should not even pass inspection. The building department has had multiple complaints as well. The first line of defense to prevent substandard building is the building department. Our building department is at a minimum turning a blind eye to the overwhelming amount of issues. I'm a contractor that builds in Paradise. I understand how contractors would be reluctant to call out the building department where they make their living. However, I am also a resident and would rather risk the backlash from the building department and the town than to continue to see people getting stuck with these homes that are falling apart. If this continues to happen, the town won't even survive. I'm currently helping one family that purchased a new construction home last year, July of 2024. They've been sick the majority of the time that they've lived in this home. They've been forced to move their family of 5 into their travel trailer. Their house is full of toxic mold and chemicals. The main source of the mold is from the shower pan leaking under the laminate floor. The shower pan never passed inspection, yet the C of O was issued. The house shouldn't even have been finalized. There's parts outside that aren't even painted. The building department has issued multiple owner-builder permits to people that aren't even actually the owners of the property. I understand what Tony said about the agent. However, when you see the same man come in and then you see that same man out there on the job site building the house, that is not an owner-builder. The owner is not building that damn house. This guy's acting as a contractor. He has a contractor's license. He's not putting it on there because he doesn't want to get sued. And this is being allowed. These papers right here are one guy in 1 year, and I made 6 copies. That's how many permits this one guy has been allowed to get. Multiply that by all of them. This is sickening. And I'm fucking pissed.
The building department believes that an owner-builder can build 4 homes per year. I would suggest that you really familiarize yourself with 7044, because that's not the case. They have to use licensed subcontractors for every trade. They act as the general contractor, they can't touch that house. You're gonna get a list that's blank with all their subcontractors with this stupid form, because they don't have any. You can't tell me a framing crew that gets there at 7 a.m. and is still nailing off at 9 p.m. is on payroll. Who's paying double time to frame a residential house? Nobody. He can shut that down. He can show up there, find out who the subcontractor is and where their license is. It'll take him less than 5 minutes. I understand that. Why not go out there and be proactive? We have inspectors at all of these job sites. There's 15, 20 inspections on a house. You can't see who's there building this stuff. Somebody's there most of the time. Find out what their license number is. See if they have work comp. Protect your citizens. This is not just a endless piggy bank for all of these people, because you're going to go broke not managing this town. That $189 million is going to vaporize. You are, I am sure, familiar with the Maudlin Declaration, right? Do you understand how sovereign immunity gets pierced? Dude, I've worked my ass off for this town. I'm fucking pissed. And you guys are sinking the ship. That's fine. I will give you a copy of these, and you guys can sit around and discuss tonight thinking about how many permits were given to somebody that shouldn't have given them.
Thank you.
I don't have one for Tony right now. You can have the town managers. I don't care. Whichever they want to do.
We'll get it to him.
You want it?
We'll get it to him. We'll look at it.
Next card is Aubrey Pruis.
Aubrey Pruis, CEO with Paradise Association Realtors. Good to see everybody again on the dais. So I'm not involved with the inspections part. We're the realtors, the end result of selling the home after it's finished. So as Tony alluded, part of what we're going to be working on together, hopefully, is creating a training education piece for the realtors. And the basic goal for that is accountability, holding realtors accountable. They're not liable for the quality of the build of the home, but also be accountable for educating the buyers, because buyers don't know the questions to ask. They don't know the things to look for, and realtors are more involved in that process, even though they're not, not all developer contractors. Some realtors are working in that capacity, but educating buyers so they know what they're buying. Buyer beware, that's the society we live in, but if you don't know what you don't know, you need someone to tell you. So hopefully the education piece will come into that, and the other part is the accountability for the construction side of things, that once buyers and realtors are kind of educating more on what to look for, what to avoid, hopefully these bad actors are going to hear about this, and it's going to start getting out into the community and maybe discouraging those bad actors to come in here and build these homes that we're hearing about falling down on people that are buying them, crumbling, causing mold, all these issues. So our focus as realtors is education. Educate the buyers, educate the community. I know I've said it before, I appreciate all of you sitting up here, because you guys are all dealing with some crazy, unique challenges and rebuilding an entire community. So we're hoping that we're going to help with that part, with the education piece, so hopefully we can, like I said, ward off some of those bad actors. So thank you all for what you're doing, and you're getting an earful, so I know that.
But Aubrey, you guys know this is going on, and your industry has got to help put a stop to what's happening. And, the advertisements are out there that, hire a professional.
Yeah.
That's what you guys are, and I I love what you guys do, but I'm saying you have a part in this.
Yeah.
And
Well-
we need you guys to step up.
Doug's an example of that, using that language
Yes, he
in
is.
contracts. That's smart.
Yes,
And
he
we
is.
need to see more of that, and that's hopefully what we're going to accomplish, working together with the town of Paradise, is including those kinds of conversations in the education component to the realtors, to hold the realtors also accountable, because realtors see these homes all, I mean, we're a community of spec homes. This is unprecedented. When I first started in real estate in Arizona, all you pretty much sold were spec homes and tract neighborhoods that were put up, in a couple months, and you sold the home. And we had these lists and checklists to give to the buyers, so they knew exactly who built the home. If they have a problem with the drywall, they know who to go to, and there's a warranty involved in that home also. Well, we're not seeing that up here, and we're in that kind of environment, but we're not used to it. So we need to educate all of our realtors out there that you're basically working in one big subdivision.
Right.
And we need to treat it as such.
With multiple people.
Exactly.
Many times the same offenders, so.
And we're hoping that with that education component, we're going to chase those MFers out of here. So,
If you-
Aubrey, I have,
If you don't sell their homes, they can sell them owner-seller, but, I mean, if you guys in your industry, if you know the bad actors,
they have their own realtors.
who's talking?
there are some of them that do work with specific realtors, and
There's a few.
yeah, and I know of several of them, and some of the reputations that are circulating out there, and I've seen some of the work, and I've seen good work, what to look for, and unfortunately, they're out there, but like, again, with the education component and really driving that home and holding all the realtors accountable for knowing this is hopefully going to help solve the problem, mitigate that risk. Because I am really sick, I don't know about all of you, but I know you are, I'm really tired of hearing about these buyers buying homes, moving in, and a month, 3 months later, their walls are falling, or they're showing cracks, or they got mold, or the windows leaking. I mean, just even my own brother, his home, oh my God, the stories that they came, I witnessed it. Just even not having caulking around windows. Are you serious? We need to educate people when they're buying these homes what to look for. You're not a contractor, but you get excited in the moment of buying the home. You don't see things that might be obvious to the trained eye, so it's educating realtors to help buyers know what to look for. So we're here to help.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I have no more cards on this item.
So 7A2 is gone. 7A3, provide direction on the November 11th, 2025 council meeting, Veterans Day. Melanie?
Real quick, did you get direction you needed?
Not exactly, but you wanted to go after the subcontractor
Put all their names on a
list?
billboard.
I liked everything that you presented. I think we ought to do an all-of-the-above approach on this, because I'm constantly hearing from people that are having issues and all that, and bring back to us your recommendation after you've discussed it, obviously, with Scott, and make sure it's all legal. You and I talked about this a long time ago, about listing and all that. It's a constant problem, and we have to do everything that's within the law that allows us to improve the quality of the owner builders or whatever, and I agree with Mr. Martin over here about, the inspections that have to be tough. And I know you guys are, but we obviously want to increase the amount of inspections we can do to make sure that everything's done according to spec. And I like the idea of that, second inspection, but my realtor recommended it, and so we did it afterwards. I would ask the realtors to say this is almost mandatory, even though it's a brand new house. Have it inspected by a third-party independent inspector. Just make that a standard recommendation. In some cases, the builder provides that, or the realtor will provide it. So all of that, we got to do everything to try and improve the quality of some of these homes. So that's my direction.
And one other quick, kind of involving other I've seen pictures of some of the foundations that have been poured. By the time we inspect, there's gravel and rebar and all of this. And I've seen pictures with grass underneath and what have you.
Okay.
So the only way, and unless you can tell me something different, the only way I can see that you could do that is you have to make an inspection before, unless you know of another.
Sure, and at any time that you guys have this resource, please bring it to us, right? And you know, because we can't be everywhere. Try to be as good as we can be, but you know, obviously you're in contact with many more people.
I'm going to,
I would like to see us add spontaneous inspections, not just the scheduled ones, on a regular basis. Because I can tell you, the job sites that I have visited on Saturday mornings in particular are the ones where everybody runs for their vehicle when you whip out your town card. And that's not rocket science. And I would also like to see a copy of the job card for a little culpability on the inspections added to that packet.
Okay. Currently, right now, we have it electronically, but, you know, adding it in would be excellent.
Yeah, then you can see
Good
whose
idea.
initials were that signed off on those respective inspections.
Oh, yeah.
I agree with Heidi's recommendation of spontaneous inspections, especially when we know we have some bad players. You guys know it at the building department. The public knows it, the realtors know it, the contractors know it. So let's do and let's be proactive, like J.T. Martin was saying. Let's go out there, and when you guys show up spontaneously or during a scheduled inspection, get people's and if they're not licensed, let's get aggressive. Let's red tag them. That word will get around, and these fly-by-nights will get the hell out of here. So let's. You guys can do that. You have that authority, right? Yeah. So that's a piece we need to step up.
Okay.
Do you have direction you need?
I believe I do now, sir. Thank you.
Thanks, Sonia.
Okay, Melanie, 7A3. Provide direction on November 11th, 2025 meeting on Veterans Day.
Yes, so currently, the regular town council meeting is scheduled for November 11th, which this year falls on Veterans Day. So it would be the recommendation of staff to adjourn that regular meeting to potentially that Wednesday, that very next day, the 12th, if you are available at 6 p.m., so it doesn't conflict with that holiday.
Well, I think that's a good idea. Comments? Ron? Woody? Woody?
What? I was looking at my calendar. I'm learning how to do that. Yeah, that works for me.
Okay, there you go.
Thank you.
Council reports on committee representation. Greg?
No LAFCO. No LAFCO this month. Steve Lucas has retired, so he's gone, and Shannon is in as executive director, and Shannon Costa. She used to be our planning commission person here for a while before she went over there. So anyway, it was great to see her step up and do that. She's going to be fantastic. We had our waste meeting today. That was fun, and we'll be having some stuff coming up on that. So don't get mad at the people that tell you about it. It's weird. The state's making us do stuff that's just crazy. Yeah, composting, and it's the good thing is, you know, eventually we're going to have every box can go out every week, so you don't have to figure out which box to take out. So that's a positive. I thought that's pretty good. But besides that, we get to compost for.
We could top that if you want to take a sewer meeting. You'd have some real.
Yeah, sewer meeting. Well, it's about the same thing. So anyway, I'm sure there was others, but that's all you guys care about.
Heidi?
Let's see, this last month, I was able to attend our Row Road public meeting and just observe some of the community feedback, which was very helpful to understand what the broad response was for the community in support of that project or in opposition. I've been to a handful of the Party in the Parks, which is always fun. I love to see everybody come in and have a good time. And one of my favorite things about those events is to see how many young children we have. That is a great snapshot of the shift in demographic in our community. So I love seeing that. We had the Elks Car Show. And then I was able to present a declaration on behalf of the town to Jim Williams at his 100th birthday party at the Elks Lodge a couple weeks ago. That was pretty cool. He's pretty spicy for 100. He still drives.
Let's set him up with Norma Cutlass.
I hope I'm as spicy as him at 100. And then the Paradise Unified School Board meeting. And then I was able to participate in the Astronomy on the Lake event by PRPD, which is a great time, if anybody out there likes Paradise Lake. All of our sewer meetings have been fabulous. And then one of the more exciting things, the groundbreaking for Paradise Elementary, that was fun. And then, of course, the Parade of Flags.
Ron?
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, I also attended a couple of the Party in the Parks. First one was on June 11th, and the feedback we received from Row Road was very interesting. It was all negative. But it wasn't a lot. There was like 3 or 4 people that came, and the next Party in the Park attended, we had very few people even have any type of comment back to us. I guess it was the heat. Then I also attended on the 21st, the Gold Nugget Museum fundraiser. And on Thursday, the 26th, I attended the Downtown Working Group and a BCAG meeting in the morning. Also, obviously, the budget review meeting on the 25th, and then finally, on the 27th, a meeting with the town manager to go over some of the items that we've talked about tonight. That's it for me.
Woody?
Well, I went to the elementary school groundbreaking, and that was really kind of cool. They have a very aggressive timeline for getting that thing built. It's amazing. I think they're going to be able to pull it off. And Otto is the people doing that. It was really special. Tom Taylor showed up. He had been injured. He's been our superintendent. He'd been injured, and so he showed up, and he's healing really well, and that's good. But he was there, and there was a teacher there. There was a bunch of teachers there, and it was a great gathering of a cross-section of our community. But Tom was there, and there was a teacher there when he went to school there in kindergarten through grade school, and this teacher was his 5th or 6th grade teacher. And apparently Tom got in some trouble, but they wouldn't tell us what it was, but they talked about it. And there was a couple of other teachers there that were there. And what was really impressive to me was they had pulled out the cornerstone from the original high school, or elementary school, and they had it sitting there by the pile of dirt. It'll be re-emplaced when the building is done. That building was built in 1939 by the WPA. It was way cool. It was way cool. And then there's a group of people that worked as substitute teachers and teachers of younger women compared to the other ones. And they all got in a circle and sang the school song. It was just a really, and there was a bunch of kids there. It was a really great thing. The school district is really one of the greatest attractions for our town, having families, and we have a lot of new young families coming. So I did that. I had the trash meeting this morning where we talked trash. Yeah, good luck. The state is out of control. Let's see. What else is going on? And we had the budget meetings and that stuff. And just for everybody's, Mark didn't mention it, but we have, and you all got postcards, I think. We have 2 sewer meetings coming up, and they'll be at the Performing Arts Center. One is July 24th, and the other one is August 14th. So those are Thursday evenings. Mark it on your calendar. You can come and talk about sewer stuff. That's it.
So I slacked a little last month. I was on vacation for 10 days, but I did manage to get some things done. I attended 3 sewer meetings. Woody talked trash. Guess what I talked? So I had a Zoom meeting with Altadena, which was nice. It's always we're seeing them go through the same thing we went through, and offering them help and Hope is always good. I went to our Bricks debut of their new software, which was kind of neat, seeing everything that you could do online. It was pretty impressive to me. Today, we had the Parks and Rec liaison meeting. So we, and then I worked the town booth at Party in the Park, also did the Parade of Flags. Finance Committee budget meeting, which was kind of the preview to all of this tonight. And that's my report. So, future agenda items. I do have one. I've had a lot of people contact me about chickens, and they are we allowed two chickens? And I mean, even Roseville and Rockland allow more than that. And so I've been asked to consider raising the number of chickens allowed, and the number I'm hearing is about 12. Not changing the ordinance on roosters at all, just chickens. So I'd like staff to come back with some information on that. Anybody else with future agenda?
I like my chickens barbecued.
I'm sorry?
I'll give you 3 notes for 12 chickens.
You want them fried or?
I like them barbecued.
Yeah. Watch it, we'll be in trouble. Okay. Staff communication, town manager report.
I have no additional report tonight, Mr. Mayor.
And